Good evening. This is perhaps the most important concept I can come up with in my teachings. This video. And yeah, the most important concept of my teachings is all about woman. Since 90% of my audience are men, and since 60-70% of my audience are between the age of 25 to 45, since the epidemic of loneliness, especially for men, this is the most important concept for a modern spiritual man. You need to learn how to make peace with this womanhood. You need to learn how to be friends with woman rather than fixating on relationships, partnerships, perhaps your pornography addiction. For thousands of years, for a spiritual man, woman was like a forbidden fruit. So they had to become a monk, escape to Himalayas. They had to become perhaps in other religions, monkhood, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam. They had to all escape woman. Because woman was always portrayed as something that can stop them from this whole spiritual journey. The temptation of being with a woman was always a big barrier to a spiritual man. But in the modern world, now that women, they got the power back in a way, they are not so dominated. At least Western woman, perhaps still third world country woman, they still don't have any say in life when it comes to equal rights. Therefore, like if you look at the immigrant societies, often in developing countries, they have many kids, right? And that's just because the woman does not have any say in the childbearing activity. The man is like, yeah, I want to get to work. It doesn't matter if you want a child, second or third or fourth or fifth, or I don't know how many. But in more developed societies, women have a say, like in Western world, like two Westerners, like the man cannot simply say, yes, we gotta have three children. And the woman will be like, well, yeah, maybe one, huh? And then you gotta agree because it's kind of equal rights, so you can't really force it. Okay, let's not go off topic. Let's get back to the track. In the modern world, that women are not so dominated, they get a chance to explore their spirituality. And women are just simply like us, a little bit softer, literally and figuratively, literally because their skin has a little bit like more fattier and estrogen, I think, makes it perhaps 30% softer than our skin. So they're pretty soft and they're pretty, normal. They're not really demons because that's just how a man's mind think about woman. They're pretty like normal people like us, have a different type of energy, which now they're getting hold of it. They're just exploring so many different ways of experiencing a spiritual phenomenons, and they're really ahead of us, like how no matter how you look at this situation, women are just ahead of us in the spiritual realm. And if you really actually become friend with woman, make peace with this womanhood in your head, if you don't constantly objectify them, if you don't constantly deal with digital woman or imaginary woman, don't fixate on this relationship thing, don't fixate on this finding a girlfriend thing, finding this relationship. Just simply reduce down a little bit of the expectation. Look for friends, for example. Don't look for girlfriend. Look for a friend. Get to know woman. Learn from a woman. Learn from how they really view the world. When you look at the way that they look at the world, you really understand certain things that as a man you cannot really understand unless you meditate so much, unless you tap into your feminine energy. Meditation is full on feminine energy. But they're very good at it. Women, they're just awesome in meditating. If 90% of my audience were women, I would have not have any problem. I have so much problem because 90% of my audience are men. And I gotta bring to your attention that go places that you can become friend with women. Perhaps yoga classes, dance classes, all these feminine activities, you can just go there and simply become friends. If you show up, you know, this whole loneliness thing is a concept in your head. It's in a state of mind, loneliness. There's no loneliness. Like you simply, if you show up someplace every day, you will not be lonely, I promise you, after fifth or sixth time. You go to a cafe, 5 times you go to a cafe, you start making friends with at least a waiter or something. It's just a matter of showing up to places. No matter how you look, how much insecurities you have, it doesn't matter at all because you're not looking for a relationship. You're not looking for any girlfriend. Therefore, you do not need to deal with your insecurities. You can just be you. Maybe you feel like you're not so attractive. Well, that doesn't matter. You can still go to a yoga studio and participate in yoga. And I promise you, 90% of people that will come there are just women. Of course, I don't mean any predatory act. Just go to these feminine activities, and slowly you get to know women. You become friends with them. Bring this, like, come off this idea of, alpha male. What is this nonsense that been created, alpha male? Become friends with women. See them as friends. They're awesome. They're really awesome. They're just like very normal. They're not witches or demons. They don't want to take your heart out and, you know, experiment on it. No, they're just human. They're also dealing with their issues. They're also having their own security insecurities. They're just human. That's the first key to really coming out of this, you know, fixating on woman mentality for, let's say, sex or relationship. Just go for becoming friends. Learn the way of a woman. And I promise you, meditation becomes easy. Life becomes easier. Like for a man to tap into feminine energy, life becomes so easy, so simple. But the other way around is not so easy. For a woman to tap into masculine energy, look at the whole world, this whole feminism and shit going on, right? Why? Like, there are so many women that they want to be like men, and they're struggling. But for men to become like women is easy. Very easy, actually. So, get hold of your emotions, learn from a role model, how to be in contact with your emotions. Don't think like celibacy and monkhood like 2000 years ago. It's a modern day, it's a modern world. Learn from the experts. And I promise you, experts in whole the spiritual realm, it's just feminine energy. Yeah, just wanted to share this with you. I really wanted to share much bigger and longer things, but I don't know. Something tells me end it here. I can also tell no, I don't want to end it. The feminine part says end it, that's it, over, go home. The masculine says no, stay around. Did I say what I wanted to say? Maybe I said it. Maybe it's over. Maybe that's enough. You take care of yourself.